Hello, it is Tuesday, March 16th, 2021, and today we're going to be we're going to be continuing work, I should say, on our entry, or potential entry, for the Dungeon Crawler Jam 2021. Ludicrous Devil, I do see your description, or your comment. Let me get through the intro and then I will read it. But anyway, yeah, so we're going to be working on stuff for the Dungeon Crawler Jam. Let me get Unity to a state where it is cooperating, because sometimes it doesn't. Okay. So yeah, I need to just get that. Not lagging. Camera's working. Okay, good. And yeah, okay, all my audio is working. Okay. So, reading through your description, looks like me and you have the same idea at college, at least when it comes to them teaching students programming, computer science. Yeah, it's pretty bad. From what I've seen, they never do anything but scratch the surface and leave so many questions about what's going on. No, it's good for the long message. It means you have a lot to say, and it means you have pretty deep thoughts. Yeah, the thing with college that I think a lot, especially like college itself, the issue with it is that I think a lot of people have a misconception of it. Like, especially in, like, let's say American culture, people think that college is where they're going to teach you stuff. And the thing that most people don't realize is that a lot of professors they don't have any training as far as like education goes. Like, they're not trained the same way that high school and middle school and, elementary school teachers are. Like, those people are specifically trained in, they take courses on psychology and actually know how people learn. Whereas a lot of college professors don't have that training. They are just experts in the field, and part of their job is that part of their job with the university is that the university will give them, a place and money and a job, and they sort of have the obligation to teach what they know. Like, of course, some of them do have educational training and whatnot, but it's not true of most of them. And so that's a huge issue, is that a lot of them just, by nature of the fact that they've never had that training, just don't know how to teach. And others of them, students are kind of an inconvenience to others of them, and it's just a bad. If people, in our culture, or in American culture at least, students expect teachers to actually teach, and when they go to college, they get sort of the issue of college professors are not trained that way. So I don't know. College it's kind of more a place where you can get acquainted with things to learn, and you have to kind of go teach yourself. I got super fortunate in that I knew programming long before I entered college. So for me, it was just a review, and yeah. But anyway, let us get into this. Okay, so what we did yesterday, let me open up the actual code here. So I think we just worked with the player component. Oh yeah, the player component, the map, and each tile. So what I want to do, I don't know if I've described this game yet, this stream, but this is for the Dungeon Crawler Jam 2020. If you're not familiar with dungeon crawlers, you can, do a little research. Basically, you are in first person, you have 90-degree turning, that's kind of important. What this one is going to be is it's going to be a typing game. So that means that most events are going to be resolved through typing. And the actual navigation itself is going to be automatic. So like when we start the game, the player is going to, start moving along this track here. And then when it reaches the, intersection, it's going to give the player a choice whether they want to go, to the left or to the right. And, then it's going to continue on. It's going to continue on that way if they chose right or something. So what we ended up doing yesterday is we added a component to each of these corridor sections. And then we added a map component. And so what happens is the corridors actually register themselves to the map. That way, when we're at this corridor, we can say, okay, hey map, what's the corridor at the next location? We could do this through physics or through raycasting or through some other means, but we just decided to do it this way because it's a little bit more precise. And we can also know the length of the track and things like that. We can then run pathfinding on it, etc. And so whenever we reach this corridor here, we have event lists that you can register to a tile. So whenever we reach this corridor, we trigger an event. So long story short, the player component I think it's just this. Yes, okay. We're using the newer input, so we basically just find an action map called movement, which we're going to have to get rid of at some point. We have a start key here, so whenever we perform the start key, we just change running, or we just toggle running. And so in update, if we are not running or there's no next tile, then we just want to return. Otherwise, we move forward. We need to change this to move towards the next, like towards the center of the next tile, because this could have some issues. Otherwise, whenever we reach the next tile, we call enter, set our velocity to 0, and then we move forward. Okay, actually that's fine. And then if we have a target rotation as well, so whenever we reach a corner, we need to actually set the target rotation, etc., etc. Okay. So basically what this amounts to is that whenever I hit start, we walk to the end of the corridor, and that's basically it, and then we get an event. So if I hit enter, walk to the end of the corridor, and then we get an event here that says, hey, you reached a split in the path. Really, I want this event to trigger before we reach this point, so I'm going to have to say we're going to remove this from here, and we're going to add an event. We're going to target ourselves because that has the log method. And what we need to do is we actually need to be able to stop the player when they reach here. The idea, actually, wait a minute. I should be able to stop manually. Hold on. Because I think what I want to do is I actually want to stop like right here. Oh, I can't stop manually. Interesting. Okay. Oh, right, because we can stop manually, but we're not setting our velocity to 0. Okay, that's fair. So yeah, basically I want to stop here and then ask the player whether they want to go left or right, is I think what we want to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a stop method for the player. Or actually, I guess we're going to create a, I guess we'll call it prompt or something. The idea is that we're going to prompt the player whether they want to turn left or right. So this will be in the tile component. Will it be on the tile component or will it be on the map component? Let's put it on the tile component. All right. So say public void prompt. Prompt? Yes, prompt. All right. I don't know how we're actually going to do that yet. I guess we're going to say, well, I don't want to really message. I'm trying to avoid doing this through the UI. Sure, let's pass a message for now. And then we will have a callback for when it's done. Well, we can't do that. Yeah. All right, we'll figure this out. So this will be, let's just debug.log this for the moment. And then how do we encode the choices into the tile itself? Because I want to know basically whether the player should go left or right. Well, actually, this is getting difficult because I kind of want some of this to be automatically figured out. I guess it doesn't have to be. All right. So what we can do is we want to ask the player left or right, so then we need to grab what their choice was. Yeah, I don't know. So we have a reference to the tile here. So I guess we need a reference to, we need some callback on the tile itself when the event is actually done. So sure, let's have an action. It'll return an int, and we will say, you know, on event complete. But then we need to know whether or not there actually is an event. Let's have this return a bool. If the bool is true, this will mean that the input is blocked until something happens. Yeah, okay. And so we will... but the problem is this doesn't return God damn it. All right. Okay. Wow, this is really tricky with the Unity events. I'm trying to think, because what I want to know from the... Well, actually, no. We can pass in the player component. Yeah, okay. Here's what we'll do. Because actually, we don't need to know if the blocking is happening. Yeah, actually, we don't... Well... No, it's actually probably fine. Yeah, it's fine. We can have this drive the player. Right, so we'll pass in ourselves. What we'll do is we'll have a public void stop method. Stop, yes, stop. And then what we will do is we will say that this just says running is equal to false. Then we will say rigid body. Rigid body? Yeah, rigid body is equal to, or dot velocity is vector3, 0. So we'll just stop ourselves. Okay. And then we'll work out the other parts later. But anyway, we're going to debug.log the message, and then in this case, can I do Unity action that takes in a player? The only thing is I don't know how this will look on the Unity screen, or on the actual screen. Like, I don't know if it'll include, or sorry, in the editor, not on the screen. So can we do debug.log message and then player.stop? So that way we can stop the player. It's unfortunate we have to do it every time, but we do. What is this going to do? Or how is this going to display at the very least? Is it going to do what I want? So let's see if we can reference, let's see what we can reference here. Reference tile component. On enter. Dynamic player component. Static parameters. Interesting. So that automatically figures it out. But then we can actually, oh, okay, I see. Okay, so I understand. That's what I'm afraid of. Okay. So, that's annoying. Okay, so we don't want to call on enter, we want to call prompt. Problem is that the event, alright, because it doesn't know. Problem is I want to call prompt, but we need to have the actual player. Now, whenever we call on enter, we get the player. We'd have to store it, which I don't like doing. That's annoying. Can't curry that anyway. Unity events are annoying. Okay. Sure. I hate doing this, but fine. Actually, no. No, if we're gonna do this, what we can do, or what we will just have to do, is we'll just have to say find object of type. No, actually, nope. Just gonna use the game manager for this, which I also hate, but it's better than putting find object of type everywhere. Sure. Alright, and you need to be called component. Yes. Alright. So we'll do the standard sort of private void awake. We will store an instance of ourselves, so public static read only. Yeah. No, not read only. Just regular game manager component. Yeah. It doesn't need to be read only because we can do get, get, and then a protected version of the set. There we go. Then we can say if the instance exists, then we destroy ourselves and we return. Otherwise, we would say that the instance is this and that we want to don't destroy on load ourselves. Okay. Why do you not think that this is, oh right, because if instance. Okay, that's fine. And then the public static, say player, this will be player. And whenever we get this, we want to return a private variable called player. Otherwise, the set is protected. And we probably want version of it, right? And here we can say protected static player player component player. All right. So actually, when we try to get this, what we want to do is sure. When we try to get this, we want to say that if there is not a player, then the player is equal to find object of type player component. So if we load the scene or something, we'll find a new player, and then we return player. And there just isn't a set for this. I think that's actually okay. Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, there's a get, there's just no way to set it. Okay. So now what we can do is we can do game manager component.player. We don't even need to reference an instance. Then we can just say .stop. Really, we could put this on the player component itself. That might be better. You know, actually, I might like that more. No, I don't, actually. So yeah, this should stop the player, log the message. That's what we want to do. And then we can give them a choice whether they want to go left or right. Missing on enter, it's really not though. Oh, actually it is, yeah. Okay, so we add an event, we reference ourselves, and then we say tau component prompt reached fork in path. Okay. Yeah, I had to think through that. I really, normally I don't have to think that hard. But yeah, it stops us. Okay, perfect. And then we're going to get a choice between left and right. And we want to do that possibly through a GUI, or sorry, through the UI. Yeah, sure, let's do that. Let's create a canvas. Sure, throw the event system into it. Say scale with screen size, say 1920 1080. Perfect, and then we will have a UI panel. Let me put this in here, and then right here. All right, I'm gonna remove the background because we don't need it. I should just remove the sprite. That would have been easier. And yeah, we want you to scale to stretch to the canvas size. So let's create a couple buttons here. We're not going to use the Text Mesh Pro buttons because we just don't need to. 200 by 50, that's probably fine just for testing purposes. This is going to be, let's say left, right, or yeah, left, right choice. I don't know what to call this. Direction, choose direction screen? Yeah, choose direction screen. Sure. And then we want a left button, and we'll align that to the left side of the screen at 0. And then the pivot is going to be at 0 itself. Maybe have this be 50 indented. Sure, that'll work. And then we will align this one to the right side of the screen, have the pivot be at 1. That just moves the pivot, that basically just moves the alignment over to the right side there. We can set this at, I think it's -50, yeah. because on this side it's negative, and this will be right. And then let's just create a component for this. I will throw that into components UI. Let's say UI. This will be the choose direction screen. Okay. And that should have had component after it. Choose direction screen component. I do add the component suffix to the actual game components just because I do sometimes make stuff that isn't component. So, well, later on in development, I usually make stuff that's not a component. So it's good to have, it's good to know which is which at the end of development, or later on, I should say. Okay, so we can get rid of all of you. And then what we want to do is we want to have a public void show. So we will call this when we want to show this screen. And I guess we're going to have some kind of action, integer. Do we want an integer? No, we want a direction actually. Sure. This will be one of those times when we should create, let's call it constants. And we'll just have a direction, direction. Just get rid of all of you. And we could do something with strings. We could also do something with integers, but I don't want to do that because that is called encoding and it's generally considered an anti-pattern. So public enum direction. Let's say left or right. There might be others later, but we'll deal with that when it happens. Okay, so this will be an action of direction. That means that we just pass a direction to this action. So we'll say on choose, and then we have using system, because that's where action comes from. Okay. Then we need to save the action that we just got. So I need to say action, direction, on choose. Okay. So when we call show, what we want to do is we want to say GameObject.setActive true. And we want to say onChoose is equal to onChoose. Okay. And then we want to have two methods. These are what we're going to hook the buttons up to. So say on choose left. And then we'll have public, well, actually, no, actually we don't need to. Just say on choose direction and we'll have the, it'll have the direction passed in. I think by default, does Unity serialize enums by default? I can't remember. But we call onChoose.invoke direction, not that direction, that direction. Okay, and then we want to say onChoose is equal to null just to clean up the lambda, and then we set ourselves active. Say GameObject.setActive false. We want to set ourselves inactive, I should say. Okay, and this should let us receive that choice. So now in the tile component, whenever we have, we'll just call this choose direction, and we will get rid of the message because we don't need to see it anymore. Just want to delete this. Then what we will say is we will say var choose direction screen is equal to find object of type, which I don't like doing, but we will deal with it later. There is a solution for it, and so we'll just say false include true, we want to include inactive. Okay, then we'll say choose direction screen dot show, and then we have a lambda for on choose. So when the player finally does choose a direction, all we want to do is we want to say game manager component. Well, actually, no. Let's just log that. So I guess we will say debug. Whoops. I want to get rid of the curly brackets because we just don't need them. So we're going to say debug.log. And right, whenever we get this, this is actually going to, it's going to give us a direction. So we're going to log. Oh, if I do name of, no, name of is not what we want. Is it direction dot, really? Hang on. Will this log a string, or what will this log? Oh my god. Actually, that's fine. No, this is logging an object. Whenever you do toString on an enum, you get the name of the enum value back, right? I think that's right. I think that's what you get. Sure, we'll pretend that it is. Okay. All right, so we need to create this and hook this up. So we'll say that this is the choose direction screen. And then in this button, this is for choosing the left direction. So we'll say this is the choose direction screen component. We will add, so it looks like it does not automatically serialize enums, which is interesting. So do I need to put serializable on you? I think I do. Serializable? I thought enums were serializable by default. Am I just dumb? Really? I thought you could pass, can you not pass in enum values to buttons for some reason, or to Unity events for some reason? Is that not a thing you can do? Did I just imagine that you could do that? I might just be imagining that you can do that. Let's see what's in here. Yeah, on choose direction. Oh, so it's on. Am I just blind? No, it's not there. Okay. Alright, give me a second. I need to go do something. Be right back. I need to think a little bit. But yeah, be right back. Give me like 5 minutes. Apologies. Alright, and I am back. Apologies for that. Oh, that's not right. Okay. Yeah, but as I was walking around, doing stuff, I just looked it up. Apparently, in the on-click, or not on-click, but in just like Unity events in general, they don't support directions, or not directions, they don't support enums. I'm not entirely sure why. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but sure. We will work with that. Okay. So say on choose direction, I guess this will be the int. We'll use an index here. And what we will do is, so for the choose direction screen, there's going to be a fixed number of directions. There's only going to be 3. So we could actually just pass in actions for left, right, and center. So I think, oh. Ooh, that was weird. Hold on. I think I just broke something. Oh wow, I've never seen that before, but okay. Sure. That's fixed, okay. Apparently I started recording. I forgot that I had the hotkeys bound there. Alright, so numlock. Alright, so yeah, we can either do, let's say, left, right, and center, or, well, there's a fixed number of directions, so I really don't like this, but I mean it'll work. So we can say, we can create an array of actions. So we can say on choose direction, or yeah, just on choose, I guess. Sure. And so what we'll do is we'll have 3 actions. We'll say actions on choose left, on choose forward, and then on choose center, or on choose right. And what we can do is we can say on choose is equal to a new, actually we don't want a list, we want a, sorry, we don't want an array, we want a list. Can't speak today. So we will import system collections generic. Lists are strictly superior to arrays in almost every possible way. So this is a new list, and because this is C# and C# is amazing, we can do a list initializer, a literal initializer. So we can say on choose, okay, we need to include the types for these. Whoops. No, double click, I want to grab this, okay. Need to include the types for these variables, okay. So left, right, and center, so say on choose left, on choose forward, and on choose right. So this will create a list with these values in it. So whenever we choose based on the direction, we will say on choose of, let's say, index.invoke. Okay, that should work. And what we shall also say, I think this is fine actually. Say choose direction, we'll say show, and then tile component will have some issues, because yeah, it'll have this. So what we can do is we can say show. This we want to, for left, we want to say debug.log left. And then for forward, we don't want the player to get that option. So I think null is actually valid here. And then we can say, yeah, because action is a reference type. So null, and then we can say debug.log right. So I guess what we'll do is if the button, or if the action is null, then we will just hide whatever the button is. So in that case, we actually need to reference the UI buttons as well. We need to say using Unity Engine.ui, and we will have a protected list of button. Yep, and these will be the direction buttons. And we can add some system.link as well. What we can do is kind of cool. We can say that onChoose.forEach, we can say for each action, the direction buttons of, oh yeah. So with for each, I believe you can pass in, you can get a tuple, which will give you the action and the index as well. I think you can do this. So what this should do, did that work? Hold on. So we are getting some errors, but I think you can do this. I might be wrong. Oh, apparently you can't. There's no way. Interesting. So you actually can't get the index. That's weird. I know you can with select. Really? Wait, with select we can do index action. Yeah, we can get the tuple. Oh. Action index. Interesting. And we could do a select, but I don't want to do that. Is there really no way? Oh wow, there really is no way to get it. Really? That's super stupid. Okay. Well. Alright. God, that is so dumb. Why is that not a thing? Isn't there like a zip function? No. Aggregate? Wait a minute. This is a list. No, okay. This is one of those days where the code is just being difficult. And I don't know why. Wait, what? Hang on. Oh, because I got rid of link. No wonder it doesn't have aggregate. Or zip or anything. So yeah, you can zip. Okay. And so really, I think if we do, hold on. I think this would pair the two, right? Second, and then the result selector. So we'd end up with an enumerable of t result. Really? So can I say on choose and then the action, wait. So a function that returns an action, no, takes, wait. That can only return one value. So if I were to say t second t result, so if I say action, action choice to a tuple of action choice, is that not allowed? So can I do this? Yes. And then I can say for each. No, I'd have to say toList for each. Okay, so then we get actions. That wouldn't help. Okay. God damn it. So annoying. Alright, fine. Enumerable.range 0 to onChoose. For each, or sorry, toList. Basically what I want is I want a pair of onChoose and the index. That's all I want. And I don't know why that is just apparently not possible. Alright, fine. Do a range from there to list, and then what we'll do is for each index, we will say that direction buttons dot set or dot game object or blah. Direction buttons of index dot set active or game object set active is equal to onChoose. Really, is that not implicitly convertible to an int? Alright. So it's only active if the onChoose is not equal to null of index is not equal to null. Right, it's not implicitly convertible. I guess that's fair. Okay. Yeah, now this will just hide the buttons where the action is equal to null. And I suppose I could have done that in a different way. Yeah, that's probably fine, actually. Yeah, we could have done that differently, but actually, it's fine. So, yeah. And then if we unchoose direction, so this is the index, yeah. Actually, there's no reason to do any of this. Because what we can do, right, actually we're going to do this a different way. So, I'm going to say direction buttons, dot for each. But if we do that, right, I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. No, we'll just do it the way we had it. It's fine. Getting too crazy with this. Okay, yeah, this will be fine. There's a better way to do it, but we can do it later. So yeah, for each index, perfect. Okay. Yeah. So we do have left and we have right, but we need to actually add a center, I think. Or not center, but like forward. We can remove this delegate for now. We didn't serialize that field. So this one we need to serialize. Whoops. And this will make it appear in the inspector. There we go. Okay. So now left, right, let's make this one the forward button. So we're going to set the X pivot to that. We're going to set the Y pivot to 1. That'll set it to the top. So we can set the X position at 0 and then the Y position at -50. And this will be forward. Okay. Yeah, and so we're going to have left, forward, right in that order. And then what we can do is we can click the button here. We can say canvas, say choose direction. We can say on choose direction. This one will be 0. We can say on choose direction. We need to target you. And then we can say on choose direction 1. And so we can do the same thing. Let's say on choose direction 2. Yeah. The thing that was bothering me is that since we have a list here, we can actually iterate through the list and assign that on click programmatically. But I don't know. I don't want to bother with it now. So in the case of the actual map, whenever we reach here, yeah, okay. So this is tile component dot right. So we have choose direction. Problem now is that how do we pass in the valid directions? So I think what we want to do is if there is well, actually no, it's fine right now. So yeah, let's just test this. Okay, but we do want to change the text in these so that we can actually see this. So we'll say left, forward, and right. Okay. Okay, so what should happen, assuming I did all of this right, is that we should walk forward till we hit this tile. It will trigger this choose direction, tile component.choose direction. What that'll do, that'll stop the player. It will find the choose direction screen, show it, and then it will show the screen with 2 buttons, one for the left and one for the right. And by default, we need you hidden. Yes, okay. So let's see what happens. So we run this, we hit enter, something already broke, amazing. So MQ Racing Dev, hi. Do you know how to fix the jumping view for game view? Do you know how to fix the jumping view for game view to hierarchy and assets? I want to stream all Unity window. The jumping view from game view to hierarchy and assets. I'm not sure what you mean. Jumping view from game view to hierarchy. Do you mean from game view to hierarchy and assets? I'm not sure what you mean. So you want to stream all, if you mean like whenever you have multiple, stream all Unity window. Fix jumping view from game to hierarchy. Do you mean the maximize on play stuff? That's the best I can think of. Like whenever you run it, do you get something like this and you just want it to look like, I don't know, say this? Is the way that I would do it. I mean, that's from what you've written. Apologies, I can't. The best that I can parse from that is that you want to be able to stream both the inspector, both the scene and the game view. So if that is what you mean, all you have to do is click and drag this over to here and just make sure this maximize on play. Now I want to stream all the editors. Do you know how to fix the jumping view from game view to hierarchy? I want to stream all of the editors. I mean, if you're, apologies, if the issue, all the editors, from the game view to hierarchy and assets. I mean, the best that I can parse from that is that you probably just should mess with how the tabs are laid out. So if you want to stream, I don't know, you can grab these tabs and you can move them around, and they snap to various points in the actual, view. Anything with a tab can snap to anything else. So, apologies. That's the best I can parse from what you're saying. What did I break? You're trying to read input using the input class, but you've switched. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, first it shows game view, next hierarchy, and next assets, then the Twitch image which I set. I mean, at first it shows the game view, then the Twitch image. First it shows the game view, next the hierarchy, and then the Twitch image. There's the game view. Next the hierarchy and next yes. Apologies. I cannot. From what you're saying in there, I cannot figure that out. If you want to send me a DM on Twitch with like a screenshot of the issue, apologies, I can't do that right now. I have about another hour on this stream. I don't want to interrupt this stream for that. But if you want to send me a DM on Twitch, like send me like a private message or something on Twitch, and after this stream, I'll help you get it set up. Yeah. Apologies, I would do it now, but I don't want to interrupt this stream. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so, okay. It just has a button for that. Oh, that's amazing. So, I normally rag on Unity, but oh my god, it's amazing that that had a button. That's amazing. So if I put a standalone input module, oh my god. So the Unity developer who came up with this button, thank you so much. That's amazing. I love you. All right, that's amazing. All right, so if I hit enter, What should happen is when we hit the end of the corridor, yes, okay. So we get a left button and we get a right button. Awesome. And we don't get a forward button because there is no forward option here. So, and the reason that I want to do this is that I don't want the player facing a wall when they make this choice, because it's kind of lame. It's kind of lame to be like, oh, what's going to happen if I hit left or right? Okay, so what we want to do for left is that we want to move the player forward to the next intersection. So we want to mark these, I guess we want to mark some tiles as like intersections or something. And if they hit left, then we want to go to the next intersection and then turn left at that intersection. Go to the next tile marked as an intersection, I guess. So when we do that, we want the tile component. We probably want to say public bool is intersection, something like that. Yeah, it's fine for it to be public, I guess. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. And then the player, we probably want some kind of variable in here to decide what it's going to do at the next intersection. So I guess this is I guess it's an integer. I really don't like that. Next intersection. Next intersection direction, I guess. Sure, that'll work. And then we can have a public void, I guess, not stop, not start, continue. Sure, it'll say running is true, and that should be fine. Okay, and actually this needs to be public. And well, not necessarily public, but we want a get and set on this. And yeah, we'll make it public. And yeah, public stuff should go at the top. Oh wait, actually, yeah, public stuff should go at the top. Okay. So what we shall do is if the tile is an intersection, then we don't call on enter. What we do is we decide to turn, and then once we are done turning, then we start running again. So what we need to do is, right, okay. So we need to have some way of determining when we're done turning. So we could do this with a coroutine. We could also do this with some kind of trigger. Gotta think about this. Okay, so what we need to do is if the distance here is that, yeah, that's fine. We need to say is if next tile dot is intersection, then we need to do the turning stuff. Do we want to do that in on enter? Probably not. I think we want the player to control that, not the tile. And do we still necessarily want to call on enter? Probably not. I think we're probably just going to have a rule that there's no like no interactable things on an intersection. That's probably fair. So there'll be stuff like before the intersection or after it, but just not on an intersection. Okay. So if the tile is an intersection, then we want to do the sort of turn stuff. And what that will look like. So really this is a state machine. We have two states. One of them is that we are turning, and then the other one is that we're doing everything else. Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Say protected void update turning. Have a protected void update moving. And so what we'll do is in update moving, we will, I guess, do, we'll say if not next tile. And then in update, we'll say if not running, then we return. Otherwise, we will have a protected action. This will be our update function. So the idea of this is that we're returning the player into like a rudimentary state machine. So what we'll say is update function. We will run the update function here. And then here in update turning, if the player's rotation is correct, then what we will do is we will say that we want to have, not running, but we want to say that the, oh god, I'm trying to think. Update function is equal to update moving. Otherwise, like normally we're going to have this be update moving. It's probably fair. And then in moving, we will say here the rigid body dot velocity is equal to vector3.0. So when we reach an intersection, we want to say that the target rotation is equal to, it's going to be equal to, actually it's going to be multiplied equal to, actually do we have the turn function still? Yeah, we do, okay. But actually this won't help us. All right, never mind. Yeah, I'm going to say it's going to be equal to that. And then the angle is going to be equal to direction. It's going to be equal to the next intersected direction. If that is 0, then we want to turn 90 degrees. Otherwise, if it's 1, well, what it is actually, we're going to create an array, right? So if it is left, which is 0, it's going to be 90 degrees. This is why I hate encoding. Oh, I hate it so much. Sorry, left is minus 90, right is 90. I hate it so much. Alright, so if the next intersection direction is 0, we grab minus 90 because that's left. If it's 1, we grab 0 because we're going forward. If it's right, then we grab 90 because we're going to turn to the right. Then we create a quaternion that is equal to the angle, and we multiply our target rotation by that, which should be forward. Then we set the update function to turn function. And what that will do is that will cause us, instead of moving each turn, we will just rotate towards that. When we actually reach that point, we just snap the rotation. Oh wait, if it's greater than that, okay. Well, actually, no. If it's less than that, what we want to do is that. Okay. And then here we return. Otherwise, if it's greater than that, so if the angle between our current rotation and the target rotation is greater than 1/10 of a degree, we want to, or sorry, if it's greater than that, we want to rotate towards it. Otherwise, we want to change the update function. And then once we do this, whenever we finish turning, we will start moving the direction that we want to go. I think that will work. Because we should automatically trigger, we need to reset the target position actually. So the target position actually needs to be, it needs to be move transformed out forward. That's what it needs to be after we reach an intersection. So yeah, we need to say move transformed out forward times 2. This way we update the moving, and then yeah, this will move us as if we entered the intersection, which we want to do. All right. So in theory, this should break. Really, I can't reference. Really? Why? No, why? Really? I can't reference a method with that. That's very interesting. Why? Bet you I can do it here. Yeah, I can do it there, but I can't do it there. Sure. I don't understand that, but okay. Okay, so in theory, if I hit enter here, actually no, that won't work because we don't actually call continue, and we don't actually assign the value. So in this case, I want a public, or not public, oh yeah, actually public. Quick void on choose direction, int direction. Okay. I want to say on choose direction to, let's say, 0, and then on choose direction to 1, or not 1, but 2. What we want to say is we want to say game manager component dot instance dot player, and then we'll say that the next direction is going to be equal to direction. Then actually let's reference the player here so we don't have to keep going through the getter. Say player.next intersection, and then we'll say player.continue. This will continue us into the next intersection. We still do need to pass in this array. The reasoning is so that we can pass in null here and indicate that there's no direction to go in the like no forward direction. So in theory this should work. Let's try. So if I hit enter, we'll go forward to the direction, and then I click left, we should go forward. We should be turning. Why did we not turn there? So we clearly stopped moving. Oh, because we never marked this tile as an intersection. Now that should trigger the turning. So we did detect that there was a wall there. So if we say, let's say right this time. So now we turn and now we move. Perfect. And now because there's no tile over there, we stop. All right. So this is not an intersection. This just has the event of it needs to turn, player needs to turn. Ooh. But we don't actually know which way they need to turn. That's interesting. So if you're entering from here, you need to turn right, but if you're entering from here, you need to turn left. Interesting. Oh wait, no, other way around. If you're entering from here, you need to turn left. If you're entering from here, you need to turn right. That's what I meant to say. Oh, that's interesting. So, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure how we're going to figure that one out. Well, I guess we just need to detect when there's a wall in front of us, and if it's not an intersection, then it must therefore be a pipe of some kind. Like, not a pipe, but like a turn. So now left should also work, and I know there's some rendering issues, we need to fix those. So here we turn, perfect. Okay, and now where does this actually appear? This appears here. Okay, so the array index is out of bounds. All right, so we need to detect whether or not there's a wall in front of us. So if the next tile, if there is no next tile, or if it's not on the map. Okay. So in this case, the map component, if this is not on the map, it needs to return null. So we can do that by creating an expression defined member. We can say public public bool is on map, and pass in an int x and an int z, and that will be equal to, and the x has to be greater than 0, or sorry, x has to be greater than or equal to 0. Z also must be greater than or equal to 0, because the map begins at 0. It's also true that x must strictly be less than tiles. Oh, right. Is it dot? How did we do this before? I would store the height and the width. That's what I'd do before. But isn't there arrays.dimension or something? Oh god, what is it? How do you find the dimension? Is it rank? Yeah, it's rank. That's not what I want. Oh geez. I can't remember how to do this. I thought it was not get upper bound. But rank won't work. Oh, right. Get length, and then you pass in the dimension. So x is dimension 0. So it needs to be strictly less than the length of dimension 0, because the dimensions themselves are, this is 0, and then over here is 1. Wow. It's been a while since I've done that. I knew it had something to do with dimensions, though. And I think Java is like arrays.dimension or something stupid. Alright. No, Java actually, I don't think you can have square arrays in Java. Well, you can have square arrays, but you can't, you can't enforce rectangular arrays in Java, as you can with C, or C#. There we go. Okay. So all of those things must be true. So it will be the case that for us to get a tile, it must first be on the map, and let's see, if it's on the map, xz, then we return tiles of that, otherwise we return null. Okay, so now we should not get the index out of bounds, we should just get the null. So we'll say if next tile, otherwise, we will just debug.log, and then we'll say reached curve or something. Reached curve in the path. Yeah, we should not get this index out of bounds anymore, because now we're checking if it's on the map. So now we enter. Alright, and then we can say let's go left. And then this should say reached curve. Okay. So ideally, whenever we get the typing stuff actually set up, what this should end up doing is whenever we get here, it should prompt the player to enter 2 different words, and one of them will be going left, the other will be going right. And I guess if they fail, it will just go a random direction. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to, whenever we actually reach a curve, we need to figure out which direction we need to turn in. And so the way that we would do that is we would get the adjacent, oh, actually, how would we do that? Actually, I don't think there's any need to do this. We could just mark the tiles as curves and intersections and basically do the same thing that we did before? No, I don't think we can, actually. Well, actually that's not true. If the intersections could deactivate each other's events, then it would probably be fine. We could just mark it as an intersection. Actually, that would work. It's technically not an intersection. Well, no, it isn't. So what we could do is we could have an event that doesn't block. So we could say the event would be public void, say notify or prepare for turn or something for turn. Have that, and then we'd pass in a direction. And what we would do is we would say player, say that the direction is going to be that. So it would be this dot next intersection direction is equal to direction. Yeah. And then we would, that's all we'd need to do. And then we'd just mark the curve as an intersection. Oh, actually, we'd also need a public void disable tile event. Yeah, disable tile events. And then we'd say tile component, or target, I guess. And we would say target dot event is equal to, I don't know that we can set this equal to null. No, I guess we can, but we don't want to do that actually. Can we remove, actually yeah, just remove all listeners. Because that should work, because the unity event is that. So what that should mean is that if we mark U as an intersection, and then we set up an event, two events here, the first one that we do is we would say prepare for turn. Tile component prepare for turn, and then if we're coming in here, we would go left, which is 0. And then over here, we do the same thing. I really hate this. Say prepare for turn, and then it would be a 2 to turn right, mark U as an intersection, and then for U, we would want to target, say tile component, we'd say disable events for tile, and we'd target U, whoops, we would target, no, we can't target from there, okay, so that's 13, so we'd target U, and then here, we would disable your events. So we would say, no, disable events for the tile. Then we disable events for tile 5. Yeah. And so now that should cause us to automatically turn, I believe. I believe that'll work. So now we hit enter. Then we can click right, and then we will automatically turn. And then here we get notified of the event. We write turn perfect. Okay. And we didn't get notified of the event there. Okay, good. Ugh, it's so terrible, but it works. I'm not going to fret too much over it. All right, just delete all of you. Then what we can do, we can grab this. Yeah. Then in terms of here, can group all of you together. Oh, okay. We need to create an empty, put it here. Let's just, whoops, no, that's fine. Put you at 0, actually no, 0 all of this out, all right. And then 0 out your rotation, cool. Select the 3 of you, put you under here, and this will be the curve. All right. So now, we should, I think this will work in any direction, won't it? Am I crazy? Isn't that true? It'll work in any direction. So now this should work. I mean, the disadvantage is that we're disabling certain events. I'm not sure that that's a huge problem. All right, so let's see. Now we should just go around in circles at some point. Let's say right. Okay. This. Ooh, why'd that happen? Interesting. Why did that happen? Oh, because we're not... Oh, interesting. Okay, because technically these are not... I mean, I guess that's okay. Because these are not technically direct children of you. Yeah. Okay, so that whole grouping them under a game object thing, that might work, but... Yeah, no, we'll just let it go this way. Alright, so now if we say right, and now we will get an event to transition us to the left, yep. And then this should also work. Yes, okay. This is kind of what I want. And so if there's like combat or something, it'll just sort of stop us. But yeah, okay. And so now the intersection, yeah, the problem here is that we, yeah, get that. Alright. So we need a way of marking this as, well, I don't know. That's sort of the problem, is how we start marking these things at the end. Because what we want to happen ultimately is we want the player, like here, what I would prefer is I prefer there to be like a locked door here. It's like have this be almost a four-way intersection. And have like the stairs kind of be, you know, the end, well actually, we can model all of that out. We can duplicate you. So we will do that. We will unpack you completely. Actually, there was no reason to duplicate you. I don't know why I did that. All right. And since you're a four-way intersection, you're not going to have a wall here. So intersection, corridor, four-way. All right, so this is a four-way intersection. You can turn this into a prefab. Okay. And then what I want is I want to duplicate you. Let's unpack you completely. And then make this into a dead end. Right? Okay. So make this corridor end. And we will also make you a prefab. But your prefab is not going to have that in it. That's for sure. Okay. So this is an end. And what I prefer is I prefer there to be like a locked door here and stairs here. So what I want to happen is I want the player to, you know, they go forward, and then it says, hey, there's a locked door in front of you. You're going to have to go either left or right. You know, they pick left or right, blah, blah, blah. They pick right, they go all the way around. And they get back here. You know, they'll collect the key at some point over here. And then it will go here. It'll realize that there's an intersection here. It will say, okay, we can't go right, or we can't go left because we've already been that way. What we want to do is we want to go this way. Or we want to, basically it would only allow the player, you know, it would get here and then it would know that the player needs to go left and unlock the door. I'm not sure how that's going to work. That's what I'm trying to figure out. So, okay, let's let me duplicate this. So I do want something to look kind of door-like. All right. So first off, let's try to make a door. This will have a parent there, okay. Put you at 5. Put you at 0. No. Put you at -2. 2.5. Interesting. Okay. You can be at 13. I want to see where the pivot of this object is. Okay, let's just put it at 0, 0, 0. And let's just move it to where it needs to be. So you're going to be at 0, 0, 0. Yeah, okay. So now, game object. I want you to be here, and you are going to be at 0.5, okay. And you're going to have a width of, let's say, not that, 0.1. Whoops, you don't count there. 0.1, yes, okay. So it's going to be kind of like a door that's made of bars. So something like that. And then one of these, specifically this one, will be kind of like a lock sort of shape. The, I don't know, 0.5 and 0.5, no, 0.5, 0.25, 0.1, no, 0.2. Something like that. And then it'll be slightly out in front. Yep. Okay. So in terms of materials, let's do MAT bar. Bar. No, bat bar. And then MAT lock. Oops. So the bar itself will be kind of a darker color. So like an off black almost. Yeah. And all of these will be bars. Okay. Like such. And this will be the lock. And then the actual lock itself will be some kind of golden color. Or something close to gold. I don't know, maybe a yellowish color, something like that. Yeah, okay. So it'll have like a door that you need a key for. Something like that. And there will be a key at some point. So yeah. Let's just see what this even does. I hit enter. So yeah, what we would expect is that there would be a lock in front of us, so we can't actually open that. So it'd say, I don't know, let's go left. And so we'd go left. Then it would automatically turn us, okay. And then approximately here we would collect a key of some kind. So keep going, and same thing, keep going. And then when you reach here, we kind of want to stop. Okay. So I think we need a different, sort of, no, I don't know. A different system for determining things. Because when we go here, we need to unmark these two as intersections. And then whenever we reach, basically if we go here, yeah, we need to unmark these two, but when we enter here, we need to mark that one as the intersection. Yeah, I know, there's probably a better way to set this up. I just would have to think through it. And it's hard to do that whenever I'm on stream. Yeah, I might have to do some thinking off camera or off stream, and just think about the optimal way to set this up. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for. So let's just do, so yeah, okay. Actually, there's one more thing we can do today. So just first off, I want to disable all the lights because I don't like that. And I mean, those lights are not going to stay forever. We're eventually just going to create, I don't know, some kind of ambient light, but for now, they illuminate things and seem fine. See, let's create like a fight or something. So let's assume, I don't know, we have an enemy. Oops. Basically, let's just create an event that does like combat or something. So this will be the barred door. Right, yeah, we have about 30 minutes to do that, so that should be fine. That's really easy to do. So let's just say we have a cube, sure. Lovely cube, 0.5 and 0.5, and 0.5. That will just represent our enemy. And sure, you can sit like right there, okay? And so before we enter a tile that has, if the tile has a fight in it or an event in it that is combat, then we need to check that, or we need to run that. So the event should actually be renamed I'm afraid of renaming this because I think it's going to break all of our current ones. I think that will happen. I'm afraid to do that. So I'm just going to say on enter, or not on enter, but actually, yeah, on enter, and then I guess we'll say public unity event before enter. So these events will be the sort of events that get triggered before we enter the tile. The idea is going to be that whenever we determine what the next tile is, which is in move, we will say, what is it? Should be, let's say, next tile dot before enter dot invoke. So whatever the next, actually, these are on enter. So actually, let's do public void before enter. This is like we're about to enter the tile. On before enter, sure. Say before enter dot invoke, just in case we need to pass arguments to all those. Then in the player component, we'll say next tile on before enter that. And so in our case, we will say public void start combat, I guess. Then we will say game manager dot instance, or not instance dot player. Then we want to stop the player. Then we will say debug dot log, you know, combat has begun or something. Something like that. So the idea is that before we enter a tile, we want to start combat with the next tile. Or sorry, yeah, here we want to say before we enter the tile, we want to start combat, basically. Where is it? It's here. Yeah, okay. So before we enter this tile, we should stop, and it should say combat has begun. So we'll do something like this. And then say to the right. And then automatically we should go here. Then automatically we should go here. And then right before we hit U, should say yeah. So it stops and then combat has begun. Okay. Right before we enter the enemy's tile. So yeah, and this is how events should basically be triggered. And then we, do whatever we do for combat, and then we start running again. So I guess we could, I don't know, start create like a combat screen? Sure, we'll do that. The combat screen, that is going to have sort of its own, it's going to be kind of its own thing. Like that's where the typing sort of part of this is going to kick in. And then I guess we'll just create a UI text. Sure, we'll center it, turn off overflow, turn it to bold, and then, I don't know, 30 or 40, I guess, and we'll say, combat. Yep, that'll work. Then we'll add a combat screen, combat screen component. Sure, create a new one, don't care. Actually, I shouldn't have let it do that because it's going to throw it into scripts. Actually, where did it put it? Did it put it in assets? Oh dear God, why? Alright. Really has to think about this. Alright, and then this goes into UI. That's so terrible. Alright, yeah, I shouldn't have created it like that. That was a mistake. Alright. Alright, so we'll say namespace red plus blue dot game. Okay. And then what we will say is, I don't know, we'll have a public void on end combat. We'll just create a button that's hooked up to this. We'll say game manager dot player dot continue. And I think that's all we need to do. Oh, we need to set ourselves inactive. So game object. What we want to do is we want to say game object dot set active false. Okay. And then I guess we'll have a public void on start combat. And then here we can, I guess, just stop the player. We can set this equal to true, and then we can stop the player. Sure. And so what we'll do is here we will just say find object type. We'll basically do the same thing we do over here. Just we will just find this and then start combat. So be the combat screen component. We'll say dot on start combat. All right, and then we'll move that into here. Say that. Okay. Now, whenever we call the start combat event, the combat screen will start up. Then here, why can we not see you? Oh, you need to overflow. Yeah, okay, cool. Sure, we can set this to, I don't know, sure, 70. And we'll create, I don't know, image. And let's just set its alpha to something like that. Sure. Just to notify, just to show that it's sort of not blocking the screen, but kind of active. We're gonna change all this UI later, but for now, we will just do this. Position on the y-axis, that's fine. We'll just say continue. Then here, in the, this is the combat screen, right? You have the combat screen component here, which probably should be at the bottom. Move, well, actually that's probably fine where it is. Okay, so in the button, we've got the combat screen component, and then we'll say that we want to say on end combat. So this should work. Let's try. Obviously the enemy will not be deleted, but we can deal with that later. So we would get this, we'd type whatever word to go right, then we'd automatically go right, and we'd automatically go left, and then once again automatically go left. Okay, and then we should get the start combat, combat has begun, blah blah blah. And then if we click continue, we start going through it, perfect. Okay. That's good. Now how is the combat screen going to know to remove the enemy? Questions? Alright, so we're going to need to know what the active sort of event is. I mean, this enemy needs to be associated with this tile somehow. Can we add things to you? Yeah, we can, okay. So yeah, how can we know to associate this game object with this tile? Because we need to remove this stuff when we're done with it. So this is on before enter. I guess we can add a list of game objects. And then in the on start combat, we probably can pass in some kind of lambda for whenever we're done. So I guess we'll say public, let's create a list of game objects and say that they're just the associated game objects. Dot generic. So we'll say list game object, and we'll say, I don't know, associated game objects. Sure. And let's create a new list here, Actually, no, let's not bother with it. In the on-start combat, what we'll do is we'll have a protected action, which we can import using system.action. Not system.action, just system. We can say we'll have an action, say on combat end, and then we will say, we'll pass in here, we'll say action on end, and I guess by default that can just be equal to null. And so we'll say on end is equal to on end, or on combat end is equal to on end. Okay. And then here, whenever the combat is over, we'll say on combat end. If it's there, then we'll just say invoke. Okay, so with the tile component, now we can optionally pass in a lambda, which we will choose to do. And when the combat is done, we will say associated game objects dot for each, say game object, or I guess underscore destroy underscore, yeah, sure. Actually, no, I think we can just do for each destroy, right? Does that work? I think, even though that's a static method, that works. Okay, I'll take it. So normally we wouldn't want to do this, but we'll just destroy anything associated with this tile. So in this case, we will have u. We'll have one associated game object, which will be the enemy. Okay. And we will just destroy that. So now when combat ends, that enemy should disappear. We just kind of want to get all this sort of lined up. Okay, so if I go left, and the combat should start from the other direction as well, because we're checking the tile before we enter it, not the tile before it. So now, cool, we have combat, now we do this, combat ends, okay, awesome. So now, we can actually do that multiple times. So let's delete u and let's delete, let's say u. Yep. And then let's do 2 things of combat. Let's see what happens here. Actually want u. Now this should still work, so we should get the combat prompt twice. We still don't get the prompt for the locked door, but we'll deal with that in a little bit. Okay, so we should get a prompt. Yep, combat begins, and then we say continue, that destroys that. And then we get the second prompt. Okay, awesome. Yeah, it appears that everything just sort of works out. And of course we'll have issues there, but you know, that's not super important. Okay. So I'm trying to think of what else we need to do, or what else we can do. Yeah, but I need to work out, basically I need to work out a better system for this. I need to basically figure out which direction we're going, and then we can use some math to compute, well, not some math, but we can use some other stuff to compute, like which way we actually need to turn, and then that way we can associate, rather than using an event to turn us, we can just navigate normally. And so we could associate an event with this tile, or, you know, as long as we don't associate anything with the turn. Well, actually, you know, we could have a turn, have an event on the turn, like, tile itself. I think there's an issue with doing that currently. So let's see if we had, like, let's test that, actually. I don't expect this to work, but I could be pleasantly surprised. So let's just say we put this here, and put this over here. Let's associate a game object with u, and then on before enter, let's say we start combat. Question is, does this work? Sure. let's check this out. Okay. So I don't expect this to work, but I don't exactly know what's going to go wrong. Okay, that's interesting. So that does seem to work. That does work. Okay, interesting. I did not expect that. So that means that we can associate any event. Also, I don't know why this is not centered. This 100% should be centered. But it appears that these are not centered. They are not centered. No, they are centered. Huh. That's very strange. Okay. Have to deal with that at some point. But yeah, okay, so we can associate events with tiles, things like that. The issue is that we can't, like, automatically navigate. We do have to do some manual setup, which I don't like. But in any case, it's not super important. I want a quad, right? Yeah, I want a quad. The issue, yeah, okay. But yeah, so tomorrow we will deal with the rest of these issues. Because right now I think that I have reached the limit of my abilities for the stream. Just my brain is not able to think really anymore. Yeah, we'll have the stairs here. So the idea is that we want the player to enter. We should probably make that other part a dead end, shouldn't we? Well, actually, what we can do, we can duplicate you two. And then we will have that. All right. And now I think that puts everything at a negative index, which we need to improve. But hang on. What do I have selected? I don't want to select. I want to select you. I don't want to select you. The player and the map can also, well, actually, no, the map doesn't need to be moved. Only these need to be moved. Okay. I think that's right, right? That's right, okay. So now you have the player, you come down the stairs, and then you want to go up the stairs. Okay. Theoretically, this should still work. Let me just make sure. Yes, okay. Yeah, you see the stairs behind the locked door, you're like, oh, okay, I'll go left. Then you're like, okay, let's type to defeat the enemy, and then you defeat the enemy. Then then we go forward, and like, oh no, another enemy, okay, type to defeat the enemy, oh god, another one. Why are there so many enemies? Okay. And then, just doing your thing, and you'll be collecting items and stuff along the way, and then you'll reach here, and then the game will be like, oh, you can continue there. Yeah, okay. And then, yeah, so yeah, all we need to do is figure out, we basically need to mark whichever tiles we've been to, so we'd end up marking this one, and then probably what would happen is when we got here, we'd have an event that would unmark this tile. So there would be some manual setup, because there'd be no way for the machine to figure that out. But then we'd reach here, we'd unmark this tile. And so whenever we reached here, it would be notified that this is an intersection. It would say, oh, this tile's marked, that one's marked. So therefore, we must have to turn this way. And we must try to resolve whatever event is blocking us from entering this tile. So yeah, we will figure that out tomorrow. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the stream. Hopefully you learned something. Yeah, but I'll be back in about 2 hours, so at 3 p.m. Central, and we'll do some more games from the 7-day roguelike challenge. There's a couple specifically that I know that I'm going to play that I kind of like. So yeah, stay tuned, or join us in a couple hours for that. And thank you for watching.